The snow came down sideways that night, and Sergeant Thomas Hollis couldn't see 3 feet past his own rifle. Somewhere ahead, Private Earl Dawkins was shouting something. A warning, maybe, or just his name. But the words got swallowed by wind and gunfire before they reached him. Tom hit the ground when the first shell landed. When he looked up again, his patrol was gone. He'd spend the next several days in a farmhouse that wasn't his, in a country that wasn't his, sharing a fire with an old Frenchman and a German soldier, and none of the 3 of them would come out of that week the way they went into it. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe and drop a comment telling me what city in the US you are watching this video. I want to see how far this story travels. Tom woke up disoriented. All he could see was white, and shapes in it that didn't make sense. Then one of the shapes turned into an old man, 60 at least, a rifle slung loose over one shoulder. The old man didn't shout or bark orders. The old man just looked at Tom, lying half buried in the snowbank, and said one word. Up. Tom didn't move. Where's the rest of you? The old man's mouth twitched, almost laughing. There is no rest of me. He jerked his chin toward the tree line. Up. Walk or freeze here. Your choice. Tom got up. They walked in silence through knee-deep snow to a stone farmhouse. The old man walked a few steps behind him the whole way. He wasn't worried about Tom running away. But Tom up close was a risk. The barn door groaned open, a folded horse blanket already waiting in the corner. Sit, the old man said. Tom sat. The old man studied him for a moment, lingered on Tom's hands, cracked, calloused, still faintly stained with engine grease. Mechanic, he said. How'd you know that? Hands. He nodded once. I'm Heinrich. You just gonna... There is no camp for you, no truck to take you there. The old man Heinrich turned toward the door. So, you stay, and tomorrow we decide what to do. The door shut. Tom sat in the dark and listened to his own breathing slow down. He still didn't know if Heinrich was a good Samaritan giving shelter to a soldier in need, or a German sympathizer already thinking about what the regime would pay for an American. What did the old man actually want? And how much was Tom risking by taking the help? The next day, Heinrich invited Tom into the house. A young German soldier sat by the fire, one boot missing, a blanket wrapped around his shoulders. And he went rigid the second he saw Tom, his hand twitching toward a rifle that wasn't there. Neither of them said anything. Heinrich walked past both of them toward the stove. Sit, said Heinrich without looking at either one. Both of you, before the food gets cold and I decide neither of you deserves it. Nobody sat. Heinrich glanced at the 2 soldiers, and something close to a dry laugh escaped him. 2 grown men, he muttered, ladling soup into 2 chipped bowls. Afraid of a table. That got them moving. Tom sat first. Baum sat a moment later, stiff, eyes never leaving Tom's hands. The soup was thin, mostly potato. Heinrich set a bowl in front of each of them, and one for himself. And for a while the only sound was the fire and Heinrich's spoons against the tin. Baum didn't touch the food. Tom noticed. Baum noticed him noticing. You might think I poisoned it, Heinrich said, not even looking up. Eat or not eat. I don't care if you starve to death. Baum ate slowly. For a while the only sound in the room was the 3 men eating. Baum broke the silence, testing Tom's reaction. You know we are close to winning here, this whole front. Tom's spoon stopped halfway to his mouth. You are entitled to your opinion. It's a free country. You will see. Baum's jaw tightened. You are hiding in a barn, freezing, waiting for an army that's already lost. And you're sitting in a farmhouse with your boot off, Tom said, hiding from the same weather I am. I am not hiding. I am waiting for my unit. Sure. How long you been waiting? Baum didn't answer that. You are a prisoner here, American. You just do not know it yet. Then you're doing a hell of a job guarding me with one boot. Baum's face went red. He opened his mouth again, and Heinrich set his spoon down hard enough to make both of them flinch. Enough, said Heinrich. The road is blocked. The snow gets worse tomorrow. By the day after, nobody walks anywhere past that tree line and comes back. He pointed his spoon at the window, then at each of them. So, understand what my situation is. If your army comes up that road and finds you dead and him alive, they shoot me. If his army comes and finds him dead and you alive, they shoot me. Then they burn this house. Neither of them said anything. You are both in my house now, because I did not want to leave men freezing in the snow. He picked his spoon back up. So, you will thank me, you will eat what I give you, and you will not kill each other until the road is open. Then you go your way, and you go yours, and I will not have to think about either of you again. The rest of the meal passed in silence. That night, Heinrich laid 2 more blankets on the floor by the fire, keeping the 2 soldiers on opposite sides of the room, close enough to watch each other. Tom lay awake a long time, listening to Baum's breathing even out across the room, wondering which one of them the old man trusted less. In the morning, Baum was awake before Tom, sitting close to the dying fire, pondering if sleep last night had been a mistake. "You been up long?" Tom asked. "Long enough? Bad dreams?" "I don't trust rooms with open doors." Baum's eyes flicked toward the hallway. "Or old men who feed Americans." Tom rubbed the sleep out of his eyes. "Maybe he's just decent." Baum's laugh was short, humorless. "Decent men do not survive this war." "Then he is a ghost." Baum didn't answer that. Heinrich came in from the kitchen, already pulling on his coat, and dropped an axe on the floor in front of Tom. "Snow is getting worse. If it closes the road, we will need wood for a week, maybe more." He looked at Tom. "You, go." Baum was on his feet before Tom finished standing. "I'm going too." Heinrich raised an eyebrow. "I didn't ask you." "I know." Baum's jaw was tight. "I'm going anyway." Nobody argued with that. Tom understood it well enough. Baum wasn't offering to help chop wood. He was making sure Tom didn't try to slip away. The soldiers worked in silence at the edge of the wood line, axes falling in an uneven rhythm, breath fogging thick in the cold. Tom split the first log clean in half. Easy work for an old Boy Scout. Baum worked like a man trying to show off, harder than necessary, sweat freezing on his neck. "You have a girl back home?" Baum asked, not looking up from the log in front of him. Tom's axe paused mid-swing. "Why do you care?" "I don't." Baum split the wood in one hard stroke. "I'm making conversation. Or would you rather stand here hating me in silence?" "Working on it." That got something close to a smirk out of Baum, gone as fast as it appeared. They'd fallen into a rhythm, wood stacking slowly beside them. Suddenly a sound reached them. Faint, almost lost under the wind. A voice, calling out, asking for help. Both soldiers went still. "Could be a trap," Baum said immediately, axe still in hand. "Your army, mine, either way, somebody wanting us to walk toward them." "Could be somebody dying in the snow," Tom said. "Could be both." They stood there a moment, listening to the faint sound again. Weaker this time, but unmistakably a call for help. If you've made it this far into the story, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, tap like, and drop a comment telling me what city in the US, you're watching from tonight. Now, back into the snow. "I'm going," Tom said finally, already moving. "You don't know what's out there." "I know somebody needs help." Tom pulled free. "That's enough." Baum swore under his breath in German and followed anyway, eyes scanning the tree line the whole way. Not trusting the sound, not trusting Tom, not trusting any of it. They moved through the drifts toward the voice, and with every step it grew clearer, closer, more familiar. Then Tom stopped, shocked as if he saw a ghost. The man in the snow was Private Earl Dawkins, and he'd been out there 2 days. He was conscious, barely. No canteen, no rations, lips cracked white, too weak to stand on his own. When he saw Tom's face, he tried to say something, and nothing came out. "Don't talk," Tom said, already pulling him upright. "Baum, other side?" Baum didn't move. "Baum!" He came, slowly, checking his surroundings for ambush. He looked at Private Dawkins and Tom helping his friend. Tom's back was open, vulnerable. Baum still had his axe. Some may call this an opportunity. Baum dropped his axe and got a shoulder under Dawkins' arm. The 3 of them walked back through the drifts. By evening, Dawkins had 2 bowls of Heinrich's potato soup in him, and enough color in his face to talk, which turned out to be the hard part to stop. "Thanks for the help, man," Dawkins said, looking at Baum. "It's not right to let a man freeze in the snow, even if he is an American." "So, what did you do before all this?" he asked Baum, propped against the wall by the fire. Back home. Baum straightened a little. My unit was selected for the Eastern Reinforcement. Out of 400 men, they took 40. I was one of them. That's not what I asked. It is what matters. Sure it is. Dawkins let his head fall back against the wall. Me, I miss Sportsman's Park. 10 cents for the bleachers. My old man used to take me every summer, and every summer the team broke his heart. He grinned. Man's still buying tickets. Tom pulled a folded letter out of his coat, soft at the creases from being opened too many times. Got one from my mother before we moved up. Governor lost his seat back home in November. She sounded pleased about it. He turned the page over. And my father's been standing outside City Hall with a sign about the tax levy. Says half the block joined him. Dawkins laughed out loud. Your old man's a menace. He's 61. Our mayor, Dawkins said, couldn't find City Hall with a map and a flashlight. Fella's got a personal driver, just to make sure he ends up in the right building. Tom snorted into his bowl. Baum was staring at both of them, not angry, not amused. Confused and ashamed at the same time. The look of a man watching two soldiers of a nation at war insult their own government out loud with a strange sense of pride, in a room with strangers, without fear for their lives. You say these things, he said slowly, about your leaders, out loud. It's a free country, Tom said. Heinrich, who hadn't looked up from the fire in 20 minutes, spoke without turning around. Before your people came, he said, complaining about the government was the French national pastime. We were very good at it. Every cafe, every Sunday. He poked at the coals. It has gotten quieter since. Baum looked down at his hands and didn't answer. The fire cracked. Outside, the wind picked up. Baum found himself with nothing to say. The next day the storm came in slow. By mid-morning, the sky looked like dishwater, and Heinrich stood in the doorway a long time, reading it. 2 days, he said. Maybe 3. Nobody moves on that road once it closes. He nodded at the woodpile through the window, half of what it had been. We are short. Dawkins pushed himself up on one elbow and immediately regretted it. Sit down, Tom said. I'm fine. You're vertical, that's not the same thing. Baum was already pulling his coat on. Tom found him outside a minute later, working the axe head loose from the block where it had frozen overnight. Neither of them said anything for a while. The wind hadn't picked up yet. It was almost quiet. Your friend, Baum said finally. He talks about his father like they are equals. They are. No. Baum shook his head. No, that is what I don't understand. My father worked 19 years in a factory. I was taught that a man's worth is what he gives to the nation. Your friend's father buys tickets to watch a team lose every summer, and he says it like it's something to be proud of. It is. Why? Tom thought about it. Because he keeps showing up. Baum's mouth twisted, not quite a smile. He set the axe down. They told us things about you, he said. In the training, that Americans were soft, mongrels, no blood, no history, no people, that you fight because you're paid and you run when things get hard. He looked at the tree line. 2 days that man was in the snow. You went out for him without a weapon. You came too. I came to make sure you didn't run. Sure. Tom leaned against the woodblock. How'd that work out? Baum let out a breath through his nose that might have been a laugh. There's no blood in it, Tom said after a moment. That's the part they got wrong. My grandfather came over with nothing. Dawkins' people came over with less. Nobody asks where you're from. They ask if you'll show up when it's your turn. That's the whole thing. That's the whole country. And if a man does not agree with your president, then he stands outside the White House with a sign, like my father. Tom shrugged. And the president stays president, and my father stays my father, and nobody comes to the house at night. Baum was quiet for a long moment. We were told that was weakness, he said, that a nation which argues with itself cannot fight. How's that theory holding up? Baum picked the axe back up. I'll get the wood. You can't. Baum jerked his chin toward the house. Your friend has been upright for 10 minutes, and he already looks like he's going to fall over. You should check him before the old man decides to make him his maid. That barrel by the trough has been waiting for someone stupid enough to volunteer. That's the first useful thing you've said all week. Don't get sentimental. Baum got 3 steps toward the tree line before he stopped. The things they told us, he said, not turning around. Some of them I stopped believing a long time ago. I never said it out loud. A pause. It's a strange thing, to be ashamed of something you never chose. Then he was gone into the white, and the wind picked up behind him. Tom went inside, sat down by the fire, and let himself relax for the first time in 3 days. The wind and the snow started to get stronger. It would be 4 hours before anyone missed Baum. It was Dawkins who said it out loud. How long's he been gone? Nobody had an answer. The fire had burned down twice. The light through the shutters had gone flat and blue. Outside, the wind had stopped gusting and settled into one long, steady push against the west wall of the house. Heinrich came in from the back room, looked at the door, and didn't say anything for a moment. Long enough, he said. Tom stood up. Then No. Heinrich set a pot down on the stove. Sit. He's out there? Maybe. Heinrich turned around. Or maybe he kept walking. He knows this house and its location. He knows there are 2 American soldiers here. Must be a good reward for that sort of information. You think he'd make it anywhere in this weather? Dawkins asked. I've seen men do stupider things for less. Heinrich pulled a chair out and sat down heavily. Truth be told, if he's under the snow now, that is not entirely a bad situation. The room went quiet. That's a hell of a thing to say out loud, Dawkins said. I am too old to pretend I did not think it. Tom looked at the old man. In this weather, if he isn't lost, he'd probably be back by now. You don't know that, Heinrich said. No, I don't. Tom pulled his coat off the hook. But there's a man out there freezing in the snow. I don't think I can ignore that. Dawkins pushed himself upright against the wall, breathing hard from just that. Then I'm coming. You're not. Tom, you were almost 2 days in the snow. Tom put a hand flat on his shoulder and pushed him back down. 2 days. If you go out there, I will be carrying 2 men back instead of 1. So you sit, and you get better. That's the job. Dawkins sat back against the wall. Heinrich watched all of it from the chair without moving. He may have run, he said quietly. Then I'll come back alone. Tom pulled the door open, and the cold came in. But I'm not going to sit here and wait for him to freeze because it's warmer in here than it is out there. Heinrich looked at him in silence. Then he got up, went to the back room, and came out with a coil of rope and a lantern. The ground drops off past the second tree line, he said, handing them over. Under the snow, you will not see it. Men have broken legs there in good weather. Thanks. Heinrich opened the door the rest of the way. Follow the fence posts. When you cannot see the next one, turn around. Tom stepped out into it. The last thing he heard before the wind took everything else was the old man's voice behind him, saying something in French he didn't understand. After a while, the wind took the lantern's light. Tom found the first fence post 10 feet out. The second fence took longer. By the fourth, he had the rope tied off behind him and counted the steps out loud with hope that Baum would listen and respond to it. Past the second tree line, the ground changed. The snow went soft and deep, and he went into the thigh twice. Moments later, he saw the tracks. They were barely tracks anymore. Shallow depressions running toward the trees, snow filling in as he looked at them. He got down on one knee and put his hand in one to be sure. Still a heel print. Still Baum's stride. He must be close. He followed them. They ran 40 yards and stopped. The wind had scoured that stretch flat, and there was nothing left to follow. Tom stood there looking around and saw nothing but white and darkness. He lit the lantern again and went forward another 20 yards. His boot hit something solid under the snow, and he went down hard on his hands. A log, split, clean cut, one edge still pale where the axe had gone through it. He dug, found another one 3 feet away, then a third, and then a bunch of logs scattered next to a tree line where the ground dropped off. Tom searched for a depression on the ground. He found the edge with his foot and stopped himself from falling. Baum was 8 feet down, on his side, most of him under, not moving. Tom went down the slope on his back with the rope in both hands and hit the bottom harder than he meant to. He got the snow off Baum's face first, then his chest. The leg was wrong below the knee. He put 2 fingers under the jaw and counted. He was alive. Hey! He shook him. Baum. Nothing. Tom got the rope under his arms and around his own shoulders and started up the slope, and the slope beat him twice. Third time, he made the lip of it and lay there with Baum's weight across him, breathing, snow going down the back of his collar. Then he got up, got the man across his shoulders, and started counting fence posts backward, 400 yards. At 260, he had to put him down and catch a breath. At 200, he had to put him down again. His hands had stopped closing properly, and he had to hook his wrists under the rope instead of gripping it. Somewhere around 140, Baum moved. "Last Mitch here." A dry rasp against Tom's shoulder. Then, in English, slower, "Leave me. You will not make it with both of us." "Shut up. It is one man instead of two. No one will blame you if you choose to survive." I said shut up. Tom got him higher on his shoulders and started walking again. "It will be much easier if you just shut up." Baum stopped talking. At 60 posts, Tom saw the light in the window. When they reached the 30, the door opened and Dawkins was standing with the help of a broomstick, shouting something Tom couldn't hear over the wind. Heinrich came to help carry Baum back inside. He set Baum down and looked at the leg. "That is broken in 2 places," he said, "and he is burning up." Before we continue this story, do me one last favor. Hit subscribe, tap that like button, and leave a comment where in the US you're watching from tonight. It helps the channel to reach more people. Heinrich splinted the leg with 2 lengths of wood slat and a strip torn off a bedsheet. Then he opened a tin box and shook out something dried and gray into a cup of hot water. "Willow bark, and one other thing I do not know the English word for," Heinrich said. "It brings the fever down. Not much, some." He held the cup up and looked at what was left in the tin. 3 days, maybe 4 if you hang in there." "And after that?" Tom asked. "After that he needs a real doctor." Dawkins was watching the old man's hands work the knot. "Where'd you learn splinting like that? You live out here alone." "You gotta learn if you want to survive." Heinrich tied it off. "There has been no doctor in this valley since 1940. He went to Lyon and did not come back." "Why not?" Heinrich set the cup down, where Baum could reach it. "My son also went south in 1940, he said, to fight. He was 22, and he had never fired anything but a bird gun. He wiped his hands on the cloth. 6 weeks. That was the whole war for France. 6 weeks, and then men came up this road in trucks and told me how much of my own harvest I would be permitted to keep. They took the horses in 41, Heinrich went on, the copper in 42. Last spring, they took the church bell in the village, and the priest stood in the road and would not move, so they went around him. He shrugged. I learned to set bones because there is no one else." Dawkins looked at the floor. "Sorry I asked." "Don't be. It is the first time in years anyone has." They ate after that, and nobody talked much, and they went to sleep early. The next day the snow came up past the bottom of the door. Heinrich shoveled a path to the woodshed and back, twice. At lunch, Dawkins started talking about a woman named Ruth from 2 streets over, and once he started, he didn't stop. "I had the ring," he said. "Had it in my pocket at her mother's house. Sat there, threw a whole roast chicken with it in my pocket. And," Tom said, "and I enlisted on the Tuesday." Dawkins turned the spoon over. "Didn't seem right to ask a girl to wait on a man who might not come back. So I didn't ask, and now she's waiting anyway, which is the same thing but stupider. That's the dumbest thing I've heard all winter." "Thank you, Sergeant," Dawkins laughed. "Can't wait to hold her again." From the floor by the fire, Baum said, "You should ask her." It was the first thing he'd said all day. Dawkins turned. "Yeah? You got somebody?" "I had." Baum's eyes stayed on the ceiling. "Annalisa. Her family lived 3 doors from ours." "What happened?" "Her father was a journalist. In 38 they came for him. He said it evenly. Then in 39 they came for the rest of them." "Where'd they take them?" "I don't know." Dawkins waited. "You didn't ask?" "No." Baum was quiet for a moment. "I was 17. I was a coward. So I did not ask, and I told myself there was nothing to ask about, so I also became a liar." He shifted against the wall. "I miss her every day." The silence took over the room, and sleep followed. The next morning, something loosened. Heinrich caught Dawkins trying to shave with a butter knife, and took it away from him without a word. Dawkins started calling him Monsieur Croissant every time food appeared, the 2 words in French that Dawkins found fun to pronounce. Tom got the hand pump working in the kitchen. 2 years, Heinrich. 2 years I have carried buckets. You could have asked. I did not know you were coming. That night Dawkins got going on what he was going to do the day he got home, and it turned into a list. Cold Coca-Cola, he said, out of the bottle, not a canteen cup, not warm, not shared, whole bottle, my name on it. Malt shop on First Avenue, Tom said. Chocolate, with a straw. Drive at night with the headlights on. I'm going to eat 10 burgers on my first meal back home. You know what? Forget that I'm going to have the whole cow. A bath, Tom said. 2 hours. Somebody can knock all they want. Glenn Miller on a radio that ain't got shrapnel in it. Baum said from the floor. What is a malt shop? The two Americans looked at each other. Buddy, Dawkins said, when this is over, somebody's going to have to show you. Veuve Clicquot, Heinrich said. A glass of nice champagne with some Roquefort cheese would be nice. Good choice, Monsieur Croissant. You can cut the croissant and put some cheese in it. I think it is time to kick you out of this house, Monsieur Dawkins, said Heinrich with his French accent. This talk of food makes me want to go to Budapest, said Tom after a laugh. I'm hungry. The day went by, and most of it was spent talking. The next day. The tin was empty by noon. Heinrich turned it upside down over the cup, and one flake of bark came out. The fever came up fast after that. They put snow in a cloth on Baum's forehead and changed it every hour. By morning, he was talking to people who weren't in the room. Heinrich stood by the window for a long time, thinking about what he could do. Pretty much nothing came to mind. At least the weather is getting better, he said. The following day. The wind dropped in the night. Tom heard the engines at first light. 2 of them, low gear, working up the frozen road. He was out the door before Dawkins got his boots on. 3 jeeps, winter camouflage. An American lieutenant standing up in the second one with a map. Tom stood in the middle of the road, with both arms up, and said the only thing that came to him, which was his own name and his own unit 3 times. Until somebody lowered a rifle. What happened after that took 11 minutes. The medic came through the door first, a corporal from somewhere in Pennsylvania, who took one look at Baum on the floor, in a German uniform, and asked only, "How long's he been febrile?" "Since yesterday noon," Tom said. The bag came open, sulfa powder, morphine syrette, a real splint out of a canvas roll. The corporal cut the fence slats off with a pair of shears and worked with both knees on the floor. Baum came around enough to understand what was happening to him. He looked at the American uniform over him and then passed it, at Tom, and there was a question on his face that he didn't have the strength to put into words. Tom answered it anyway. "Yeah," he said, "that's what we do." They carried him out on a litter. He'd be a prisoner of war by that afternoon, and in a field hospital before dark, and he'd survived the leg, and the war, and many years after it. The lieutenant offered Heinrich a ride to the village. Heinrich declined. He lived in the house his entire life. Tom shook his hand at the door, and thanked the man who saved his life. Private Dawkins looked at him and said, "Au revoir, Monsieur Croissant,"